So influences on repositioning, we've got plenty of these. And one thing that we can think about here is sustainability. So lots of businesses are going to pursue minimizing those negative impacts that humans have on the world. We see that more and more these days, with sustainability being something that's always at the forefront of business news. So, um, this is all about thinking about future generations during that strategic planning and still meeting their own needs as well, though. So, um, with sustainability, you have that balance between needing to make sure that the business is still running, is still doing well financially, but you're doing all of that while being sustainable. So we've got all these different sustainability strategies we can think about in all of these different spaces. So human resources, we've got career planning, employment growth opportunities, and outsourcing. Marketing, we've got product packaging, innovation, and prioritizing relationship marketing. Operations is something that we probably think of first when we think of sustainability, things like reducing emissions and minimizing waste. Um, Management, we could have globalization opportunities. Corporate social responsibility is a big one as well that we'll look at shortly. And finance can also come into this as well. So, a common misconception with sustainability is that it's only about the environment, and that's not true. So, there's actually different layers of sustainability. Environment is definitely one of them, but you've also got the social aspect of sustainability as well, and um, you've got other elements in there too. So keep that in mind when thinking about sustainability, because yes, we do hear a lot about, for example, car manufacturers wanting to reduce emissions, um, and lots of government organizations as well wanting to reduce emissions as part of their political strategies. But you want to be sustainable in terms of society, so that can factor in things like health and that kind of thing as well. Sustainability is about that long-term viability as well. So, corporate social responsibility, which we just mentioned then. So, this is this idea that businesses are expected to contribute constructively to society, and that can happen in multiple different ways: economic, legal, ethical, and philanthropic. And this is called corporate social responsibility. So, oftentimes when people hear this, they probably think of philanthropy, so being a good corporate citizen, making donations, and all of those sorts of things. But it does have these other levels as well. And we can see in this diagram here um, some of the levels as well. So the bottom half or the bottom section is required by society. So we need businesses to be profitable, because without that, then it can't be a business anymore. So that's a requirement. Legal responsibilities as well. You have to obey the law as a business. Um, and so this is about right and wrong. Of course, if you're doing the wrong thing in business, then you can have lots of problems. And so those two things are a requirement. Then we go up a level to what's expected by society. So ethical responsibilities: do what is just and fair and avoid harm. So if we think about the treatment of workers, fair wages and good working conditions, and all of those things that are under that ethical kind of banner, that is what society expects. It's not necessarily a requirement. Of course, there are businesses out there that do the wrong thing, but it is what most people expect from the businesses that we have in our society. And then desired by society, which is that philanthropic element um, of donating, of even fundraising, of supporting different causes. So you've got the really base things that are just operating a business that's financially viable and obeys the law. You've got operating a business that's ethical and fair. And then you've got that step up at the very top where you're looking at actually giving back as well. So some influences on repositioning. So ethical standards are the series of moral-based principles a business is obligated to comply with. And so complying with these is about preserving those relationships with stakeholders. And remember that stakeholders can be anyone who's impacted by the business or who impacts the business, can be customers, suppliers, um, the government, all of those different people who are in the mix. So things like fairness, respect, confidentiality, and trustworthiness are some ethical standards that may be present. So large corporations often elect to acquire or merge with a post-mature business to further expand. And so a merger is when two or more companies join to establish a new business. They're merging together to create something new. On the other hand, acquisition involves a business purchasing another organization as a whole. So it's not joining together to create something new, but it's one business having significantly more power and being able to fully purchase that other business. So both of these things are some influences on repositioning. Um, so the ethical standards, the acquisitions, and the mergers. So let's have a look at some examples of acquisitions and mergers. So back in 2022, Qantas acquired the remainder of Alliance's shares. So it already owned some of Alliance Airlines, which we have here in Australia, but it acquired the remainder of those, so it now fully owns that business, just like it owns Jetstar as well. And so that is one business, Qantas, having a lot more power and being able to fully purchase the other business outright. Whereas the merger option we have here, Afterpay and Touch Corp. You may be familiar with Afterpay. They merged to form a $500 million company called Afterpay Touch in 2017. So that is where the businesses are both going to come together to create something new. So you can see that they've got that new business name that's incorporating both businesses in there. And they would merge because of some kind of mutual benefit that they're going to get from that as well. Some more influences on repositioning. So public relations centers around using free promotional techniques aimed at improving a business's reputation and fostering those jointly advantageous relationships between the business and the market. So we want everyone to be benefiting in this public relations relationship. Crisis management is the process of handling a negative event that wasn't predicted, it wasn't expected in any way, and it's a series of strategies to minimize the damage that the business suffers as a result. So a very good example of that is Dreamworld. So they had a crisis back years ago now where they had the malfunction of the Thunder River Rapids ride, and that wasn't handled as well as it probably could have been by Dreamworld and the parent company, Ardent Leisure. So that is about making sure that you're um, balancing between taking responsibility for the fact that something has happened that's really awful under your watch, but then also not taking responsibility in the sense that um, the investigation hadn't happened yet. They weren't sure what caused the issue. So that's where public relations comes in, and you need to manage the situation to try and make sure that the business doesn't completely suffer as a result of that crisis. So you've got something to remember with public relations. There's the misconception, I suppose, that it is all about just helping the business, promoting the business, and that kind of thing. But remember that idea of it's jointly beneficial for both the business and the customers or those other stakeholders who are involved in that relationship.